Thanks so much. So we spent yesterday night, we were knocking on doors in Edmonton with our local candidate for Edmonton Centre, Tricia Esterbrook, and we heard from the people, and their stories were very clear. People were worried about the cost of everything being more expensive. They're saying that the rent's up, the mortgage is up, everything's more expensive, groceries are more expensive. And they were feeling that worry that what's going to happen next, that uncertainty for the future. They weren't hopeful for a new year, they were worried. And they're worried for their kids, they're worried about putting food on the table. They felt a lot of worry and fear. And at a time when people are feeling this here in Edmonton, we know this is what people are feeling across the country. At the same time, Justin Trudeau is having a meeting with his cabinet in Montreal, and he's talking about growing the middle class. Well, he's had almost 9 years in power, and instead of growing the middle class, things have gotten worse and worse. It's more expensive to buy groceries, more expensive to rent or to mortgage. Life has gotten harder. Salaries haven't kept up. He is out of touch. And that's why our strategic session is going to focus on how we can continue to make this parliament work for people. How do we deliver for people like we deliver dental care? How do we deliver housing that's affordable? How do we bring down people's rents? How do we focus on making sure people can afford their groceries? That's what our focus is. Unlike the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre, who want to cut the services that families need. They want to cut things like your pension. The Conservatives voted against a school lunch program. While Pierre Poilievre talks about how expensive groceries are, he wants to cut a school lunch program to feed kids and help their parents with the cost of food. That's who the Conservatives are. The Liberals and Justin Trudeau are out of touch. They don't know what people are going through, and they've had so many years to make things better and haven't. New Democrats are focused on making life more affordable, how we can fight for you and your families, not for the ultra-rich like the Liberals and Conservatives. How do we fight for everyday families, for young people, for seniors to make their lives better? That's our focus, and that's what we focus on. That's what we'll be focusing on during our time here in Edmonton. Donc, hier soir, on a parlé avec les gens à Edmonton Centre, avec notre candidate, Tricia Esterbrook, et les familles et les gens ont partagé leur histoire. Ils ont partagé comment c'est difficile à rejoindre les debout, comment c'est plus difficile d'acheter les épiceries et payer le loyer. Donc, on a entendu les gens. Et je veux faire le contraste avec les libéraux et Justin Trudeau, qui maintenant est dans une rencontre avec son cabinet à Montréal. Il parle de comment il peut élargir la classe moyenne. Mais il a eu 9 ans pour faire ça. Et au lieu d'aider les gens, la situation est pire que jamais. C'est plus cher pour les loyers et les épiceries. Donc, ça, c'est pourquoi on va prendre le temps dans notre rencontre ici à Edmonton pour parler de comment on peut forcer ce gouvernement de livrer la marchandise, comme on a fait avec les soins dentaires, comment on peut réduire les coûts pour les épiceries, réduire les coûts des loyers et aider les gens. En même temps, les conservateurs, leur offre aux gens, c'est d'insulter les maires au Québec et de proposer des coupures pour les services dont les gens ont besoin. Ce n'est pas la solution. Notre offre, c'est de continuer de se battre pour vous, monsieur, madame, tout le monde, pour les familles et pour rendre la vie plus abordable. Merci, and with that, I'm ready for any questions you might have. From the beginning, we said and we maintain that the reason we were in that crisis was a direct failure of Justin Trudeau's leadership and also other levels of government that failed to act, to take the challenge presented seriously. Their inaction resulted in a serious crisis where we reluctantly supported the invocation of the emergencies measures. We said that was something that we reluctantly supported. And then we also were very open to the Rouleau Commission and the work and the accountability measures to assess whether it was the right decision and what needs to be done differently in the future. The ruling has been passed down. I understand there will be an appeal of that ruling, and we will follow closely to see the outcome of that appeal.
So just in terms of the caucus retreat here, election readiness is part of it. I'm just wondering, are part of the conversations the NDP plotting potential plans to dip out early from the confidence and supply zone?
Our focus in terms of what we want to do moving forward is really how do we make Parliament work for people? We've seen a lot of frustration, a lot of worry and anxiety, and we want to find ways to make that better. And what we know that people are worried about, cost of groceries, cost of rent, cost of housing, cost of mortgage. that cost of living question is the biggest question on people's mind. How do I just get by? For those folks, we want to make sure that we're using the power we have to make life better. How do we bring down the cost of rent, bring down the cost of groceries? That's our focus. We've delivered on things like dental care. We want to expand that. We're going to continue to deliver on making sure people can get their teeth looked after and lower the cost for families. We also want to make sure that we move forward on the other initiatives that we talked about, making sure people can afford medication with pharmacare. But cost of living is our focus, and we want to use our power to make sure life is more affordable. And that's our focus, making government work for people. Well, we think there's a lot of opportunity across the country. Here in Edmonton, we have an incredible candidate for Edmonton Senator Tricia Esterbrook's, past chair of the school board, someone that is very popular at the doorstep, someone that people see as someone who's fought for them, who stood up for their families and for their kids. And that's what you get with New Democrats. So we want to make sure people know that when we talk about making life better for people, we've delivered. We can get it done. And so when we talk about how we can make things better for people in the future, we want people to know we've got a track record now. We've delivered on dental care. We were able to get legislation like the child care legislation. We got that done. And now we can deliver on more. And so we want folks to know, if you want someone that's going to be on your side to tackle the major challenges of the day, basically the cost of living, the Liberals have had 9 years and they have let you down. They've disappointed you. And the Conservatives want to cut the things that you need. They want to cut your pensions. They want to cut healthcare. They want to cut, and it's going to hurt families. It's not going to help people in this time. And we want to put to Canadians that New Democrats are the ones on your side. We're not beholden to the corporations like the corporate-controlled Conservatives. We're not out of touch like the Liberals and Justin Trudeau. We're fighting for families. We're fighting for you, and we have done so. And we're going to continue to do so here in Edmonton and across the country. Well, I've had the honor of having a number of conversations with Rachel Notley. Recently we chatted since getting here to Edmonton. And Rachel is someone who has shown people what you get with a New Democrat. When she was premier, she showed incredible focus on people. Making sure government worked for people was her focus, and she did that. She fought for people, ran a good government, made life better for people. And as an opposition leader, continues to fight for people, fighting back against the Conservatives' idea of cutting pensions, against her cuts to healthcare. She has been a bulwark of support for people, and is someone that I'm inspired by to make sure that people can see us also at the federal level as champions for people. We are here for you. We're not controlled by the corporations like the Conservatives. We're not out of touch like the Liberals. We are focused on you and your family and getting you and your family the help that you need. We've done that. We're going to continue to do that. Bonjour. Donc, on a choisi la ville d'Edmonton parce que on a une base d'appui ici et c'est important pour notre parti d'avoir une présence dans toutes les régions du Canada, et l'Edmonton, c'est une région importante. On a vu dans le passé un appui formidable pour le Parti néo-démocrate provincial, et aussi on voit qu'il y a des gens qui sont, ils ne sont pas satisfaits avec les libéraux. Ils ont vu 9 ans des libéraux. Ils disent qu'après 9 ans, notre vie est rendue plus difficile. C'est plus difficile à rejoindre les deux bouts. Donc, ce n'est pas suffisant de continuer avec les libéraux. Et en même temps, les gens à Edmonton aussi, ils ont vu les décisions et les priorités des conservateurs. Qu'est-ce qu'ils veulent faire? Ils veulent couper les services dont les gens ont besoin. Donc, il y a une opportunité pour montrer les gens que vous avez une alternative. Nous, les néo-démocrates, on montré comment notre priorité, c'est vous, c'est les familles, les jeunes, les plus âgés. On est là pour aider les familles et les classes ouvrières. On est là pour les travailleurs et les travailleuses. Et on a livré la marchandise avec notre programme de soins dentaires. On a montré comment on peut aider les gens, on peut livrer les programmes pour aider les gens. Donc, on va faire exactement ça. On va partager notre message et le fait que notre priorité, c'est de forcer ce gouvernement de fonctionner pour vous. Et ça, c'est pourquoi on est ici, pour partager notre message et pour écouter les gens et mieux savoir leurs enjeux.
What concerns were raised about this, and what type of strategies did you discuss in terms of how you get that message across that the NDP is perhaps a better representative of the working class?
Well, we want to put to Canadians what's happened over the past 9 years. And we know that the Liberals promised a lot. They said they were going to make things better. And there was a lot of hope and optimism when Justin Trudeau was first elected. And now people are left really disappointed. They feel really let down. They feel like they have not gotten better off. In fact, things have gotten worse off. Canadians are worse off now than they've been before. And so we want to put to Canadians that you can't trust the Liberals to continue down the same path where they've let you down. You can't support them. They're not going to make life better. They're not going to address the challenges that people are going through. High cost of rent, high cost of mortgage, high cost of groceries, high cost of living. And then with the Conservatives, I know who Pierre Poilievre is. I've known him and seen him very up close. He is someone who believes in cutting the things that people need. He wants to cut. He voted to cut school lunch programs. He voted to cut dental care, even though he himself has had taxpayer-funded dental care for most of his adult life. He voted against your grandparents, your parents, against seniors getting dental care. That's who he is. And I want Canadians to know that. And I want Canadians to know who we are. Where did we spend our time? We spent our time fighting for you, fighting to bring in dental care, fighting to make sure people got a GST rebate that was double what it was before, fighting to make sure people's lives are better. That's what we do. We believe we're better off when we take care of each other. The Conservatives want to leave you on your own. And that is not how we deal with challenges. In Canada, when our neighbors are hurting, we look out for one another. The Conservatives want to make life harder for you by cutting the things that you need, your pensions, your health care, and the Liberals and Justin Trudeau are out of touch. We want to show Canadians that there is an option. There is an alternative. We'll be there for you like we have in the past. We'll continue to fight for you. You can trust us.
The issue of Israel and Hamas and Gaza is what the federal government has called the most divisive issue. Melanie Joly, the foreign minister, has said it's the most divisive issue she's seen in her career. I'd like to know, you've come out and the NDP has come out very strongly in support of the ceasefire. Where does the NDP stand when it comes into play in regards to this issue in terms of your support of the Liberal government?
Well, we have a different position than the Liberals and the Conservatives. We really take an approach of humanity. We see the suffering going on in Israel and Palestine. We see people in pain. We see people dying. And we want to do everything we can to stop that from happening. And that's why we were the first out to call for the hostages to be released and a ceasefire. We want to see peace, and we want to see an end to the violence. And that's what's motivating us. That's been our focus. We've been really focused on that human side, the human cost, and the human toll of violence. And for the other parties, they've not had that same focus. Were reluctant to support the idea of supporting a ceasefire. The Conservatives remain unclear on where they stand, and the Liberals have finally come around, and I think that's a positive thing when Canada supported the vote. But really, we just want to see peace. We want to see a path towards a long-standing security and safety for people of Israel, the people of Palestine, and we want to do our part as a nation. We want to encourage Canada to do its part as a nation to give people that hope for a better future.
We're now going to move to questions on Zoom, and our first question comes from Matthew Black. Go ahead, please, Matthew.
Well, thanks for doing this. I want to ask you a concern over vote splitting, particularly in a riding that was quite close like Edmonton Centre. Any concerns focusing there is going too much into the Conservative Party's hands?
We want to put to Canadians that they have a real choice here. They don't have to stick between the red and blue. They've seen 9 years of Justin Trudeau. And I ask you, like you've seen 9 years of Justin Trudeau. He promised to grow the middle class. That's what he's talking about again now, 9 years later. Has he done that? Or have things actually gotten worse? Like, is it more expensive to rent, more expensive to buy a home, more expensive to buy your groceries? Is life better or worse after 9 years of Liberals? I would say worse. very clearly, and people tell me things are worse. And then I also want to remind folks, when Conservatives were in power, remember when Harper was in power? He cut the things that you needed. He cut healthcare. He cut, and it hurt. That's what Conservatives do. They're going to cut again. Pierre Poilievre is not even hiding it. He's been very clear. He spent 30 hours at the end of session voting against everything, cutting dental care, wanting to cut supports for seniors, wanting to cut a school lunch program. That's who he is. I know him. He is going to cut the things that you need, and that is not what Canadians need at this time, right? At a time when things are tough, you want to see even more cuts to make your life worse. You want to see support for people. We want to make sure we're doing the prudent thing, the responsible thing, supporting people in this time, making sure we work together to build that better Canada. That's what New Democrats are about. And so I want to put to Canadians, don't worry about this question of vote splitting. You've got Liberals that have been in power for 9 years, and they've let you down. The Conservatives want to cut and make things worse. New Democrats are here for you. We've delivered already. We've showed that we can get things done. We got dental care done for kids under 12. Seniors are rolling out. People are going to be better off because of us, and we can do so much more. And we want Canadians to know we're going to be there for you. We're going to keep on fighting. When we come out of this session, we're going to focus again on making sure you have a home you can afford, that rent is more affordable, and that groceries are more affordable. And we're going to take on the corporate-controlled Conservatives and the Liberals, and take on the corporations that are driving up the cost of your groceries. We're going to take them on directly. We're the only party willing to call out corporate greed and make sure that people know that we're on their side.
Thank you for that. Just a follow-up, I want to ask you about our provincial NDP here. It has a different take on some issues related to things like pipelines and energy industry in your party. Do you feel the need to moderate some of those positions from your party in order to win seats here in Alberta?
I would say the vast majority of issues, we are very much in line. Our values are the same. We believe in making sure people are looking after each other. We believe in healthcare that's there for you. We want to make sure that homes are affordable. We want to make sure grocery prices are affordable. New Democrats don't punch down like you see Conservatives punching down on the weak and the marginalized. They'll take shots at people that are weaker than them. We go after the powerful. We go after corporate controlled. We go after corporate grocery stores. I'm the one that took on Galen Weston, that is making more money than he's ever made, while Canadians are paying the most they've ever paid for grocery prices. You're never going to see Pierre Poilievre take him on. You're never going to see Justin Trudeau take him on. We're the ones that fight the powerful for the people, and I want to put that to Canadians. That's what New Democrats have done in Alberta. That's what New Democrats have done federally. We share so much in common, and we're focused on the things that matter to you and your family.
Our next question comes from Mary Brooke with Island Social Trends.
Hi, thanks for taking my question.
Of course.
So we're hearing about people not being able to cope with higher mortgages, so they're either renewing at a much higher rate or they're selling their home. And there's quite a sector of small business entrepreneurs who own properties to rent them out. And those renters are being either evicted by a sale, but then when they continue to rent, it's at an extraordinarily high amount over, so way beyond what the provinces will allow as a rent increase. So the renters are carrying a burden that we haven't seen before. So in that context, I'm wondering, and of course they can't pay for a down payment either, so that's pushing people down even further. In that context, I'm wondering how you feel about rent to own, which isn't talked about much in the real estate sector, but it means that someone who owns a home will go into a contract with the tenant, and eventually that tenant will own the house. So this would help a lot of people get a leg up, and I'm just wondering if that's been discussed or something you might look at.
I appreciate the question. When it comes to housing, one of the ways that we distinguish ourselves from the Liberals and Conservatives is they are only pushing one solution. They talk about private development, and they think that's going to solve the problem. And we know that one solution alone is not going to solve the problem. We need to look at all the solutions. Every solution has to be on the table. That's what distinguishes us from the Liberals and the Conservatives. They think just do the same thing that's been happening for the past couple of years, just do more of it. We know we need to build more homes, but we also need to build more homes that are affordable, that are actually affordable. And to do that, we need to look at all the different ways to make sure people can actually afford a home. We need to look at not-for-profit housing, cooperative housing, purpose-built rental. We need to make sure that we build student housing specifically to help students so that they're not also competing in the same rental market with families and young professionals who've graduated. We need all the solutions on the table, and looking at creative solutions like rent to own. I think we have to be open to all solutions that make life more affordable, that keep the dream of owning a home alive. And we can do that. Other countries have figured this out, but it's going to take the courage to take on all the solutions and not just focus on one. We got to look at the financialization of housing as well. There's a lot of serious challenges. And I put to you, the Conservatives and Liberals are not up to the task of dealing with this problem because they are not looking at all the solutions. We are prepared to do that.
So, speaking of other countries, particularly in the south, in some Scandinavian countries, they've done what you call cooperative type of development of the housing, so that on the same street you've got seniors in homes, young families in homes, and they also, through government, fund young adults to help out the seniors from time to time, and it's prearranged. So I'm just wondering if the NDP has looked at this. I know some of the provinces are aware of this. Nothing's been done at any provincial level across the country that I'm aware of. So would the NDP look at housing policy that would look to really change the complexion of communities, like meaning the types of buildings that are available?
We haven't looked at that particular model that you brought up, but we have looked in general at what some of the solutions are from other countries. One of the things that became very clear when we looked at affordability in other countries in Canada was the amount of purpose-built rental. In countries where there's affordability in Europe, we noticed that there was at least 20% of the housing market was purpose-built for rental, was specifically rental. And in Canada, we're well below 5%. So it makes it so hard for people to find affordable rent when there's really no options available. We know that in a lot of communities around the world where there's affordability, there's a lot of good quality alternatives like cooperative housing or not-for-profit housing or city-owned, municipal or state-owned housing that is very affordable for people as a real option for young professionals to be able to rent and be able to afford. So we need to look at all those solutions that work in other countries and then put those in place in Canada. Every solution has to be on the table. We can't just focus on one approach because that is not working. And we certainly can't do what the Conservatives and Liberals have done because their approach has brought us to this position. The affordability problem didn't start with the Liberals. It actually began before that with the Conservatives and before that with the Liberals who stopped investing in affordable housing. So this is a decades-long problem, but the solutions are there. We just have to have the courage and the will to take on all these solutions.
Our next question comes from Lisa Johnson with the Edmonton Journal.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I just
Of course.
wanted to follow up on my colleague Kathy's question there with something really specific. I mean, you've talked a little bit about Rachel Notley's legacy, but one of the biggest parts of her legacy was getting TMX past the finish line, and this is something that you've strongly opposed in the past. Notley's NDP, while they were in government, they spent a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of political capital, some would argue, convincing Canadians that TMX would benefit everyone, all public services like healthcare, because of the revenue it generates for the public purse. That pipeline is coming online soon, potentially in the coming weeks. So I'm wondering what your position is on this now and how you're addressing this issue on the doorsteps. I know you understand you were on the doorsteps yesterday. What are the conversations that you're having with Albertans about your position on the oil and gas industry and emissions right now?
Well, I would start off by saying we need oil and gas, and we need oil and gas in Canada. There's no question about it, and we need those workers. We're not going to be able to build a Canada that we want without those resource sector workers. They're essential, they're fundamental, they're vital to our economy, and they're vital to our country. And those workers also deserve a plan. If there are going to be changes in the economy because of global market changes, if there's going to be a shift in where resources are needed, if there's going to be more focus on renewable energy, if car manufacturers are moving away from combustion engines and more electrical cars are coming forward, then those workers deserve a government that's going to fight for them to make sure they've got jobs not just for the next couple of years, but for the foreseeable future. And that's the role of government, to make sure that resource sector workers, oil and gas workers, all workers know that there's a plan to ensure that they'll continue to be able to earn enough to support themselves, their family, keep food on the table, keep a roof over their head. That's why we push for changes to the approach that government takes around how we build for the future. We want workers at the table, so the decisions around where we make investments, how we keep up and compete with countries like the United States, where they've made massive investments that will prioritize certain sectors, we need to keep up so we can create those jobs here in Canada. We believe in jobs. We're a jobs party. We're a workers party. And that's why our focus will always be on making sure there's a bright future for workers. But what I heard at the doorsteps really clearly was a deep concern about affordability. And so that's what we're going to focus on. We want the people of Edmonton to know. We want the people of Alberta to know. We hear you when you say the cost of everything is up. And we know one of the major drivers of the cost of groceries in particular is corporate greed. No one else is going to say that. But you know, when you go to a grocery store and you see those prices up, you know that those grocery store owners are seeing record profits. And in Canada, there's really just 3 grocery stores, CEOs that run the market: Sobeys, Metros, and Loblaws. Those 3 companies run the majority of grocery stores in our country, and they're making record profits while you're struggling. And they're engaged in countless anti-competitive behavior. Basically, practices that gouge you and your family, price fixing, price gouging. They engage in these practices, and they're not being stopped. We're the only party saying we're going to take them on. We're going to take on their corporate greed. We're going to bring down the prices of your groceries. Not by asking them nicely, not by ignoring them, but taking them on directly. We're the only party with the courage to do that. When it comes to affordability, you cannot trust the Liberals. They've had 9 years that things have gotten worse. You can't trust the Conservatives. They're going to cut and make it even worse. New Democrats are going to take on the real problem and make sure life is more affordable.
Our next question comes from La Presse, Mylène Crête.
Bonjour, Monsieur Singh.
Bonjour, madame.
J'aimerais avoir votre réaction aux décisions de la Cour fédérale sur le retour à la loi sur l'urgence qui était, selon la Cour, injustifiée.
Merci pour la question. Donc, on a toujours dit que la crise était le résultat d'une faillite de Justin Trudeau, un manque de leadership de Justin Trudeau et aussi les autres niveaux du gouvernement, les niveaux provinciaux et municipaux. Et c'est à cause de leur faillite, leur manque de leadership qu'on était dans la situation avec la crise à Ottawa et dans les autres quartiers du pays. Donc, on a résisté et c'était difficile pour nous. C'était une décision difficile d'appuyer les mesures d'urgence, mais on a fait cette décision pour le bénéfice du pays, pour aider les pays dans cette situation. Mais on est aussi toujours prêt à écouter les recommandations de l'enquête publique et les autres mesures pour évaluer la décision de mettre en place les mesures d'urgence. Donc, maintenant, il y a une décision de Cour de justice. Je sais que le gouvernement fédéral va poursuivre cette décision. Donc, on va attendre le résultat de cette prochaine décision dans la Cour de justice. Et puis, on va regarder ce que la prochaine décision va montrer.
Et je voulais savoir également, qu'est-ce qui reste exactement dans votre entente avec les libéraux là, qui est vraiment fondamental pour vous de réaliser avant la prochaine élection? Et est-ce que vous allez rencontrer M. Trudeau bientôt?
J'ai des rencontres régulièrement avec le Premier ministre où je continue de forcer le Premier ministre et le gouvernement libéral d'agir pour aider les gens. Donc, je vais avoir des rencontres bientôt. Je peux vous donner les détails. On a confirmé les détails de cette rencontre. En général, notre but, c'est de forcer ce gouvernement libéral, de fonctionner pour les gens. Et toutes les mesures pour aider les familles étaient grâce à nos efforts. On a forcé le gouvernement avec le projet de loi pour les garderies. On a forcé le gouvernement de mettre en place les soins dentaires. Donc, c'était nous qui avons forcé le gouvernement d'agir. Et ce qu'on veut voir pour le prochain temps, c'est des mesures pour rendre la vie plus abordable. Ça, c'est notre priorité. Des loyers moins chers, les coûts d'épicerie réduits. Ce sont nos priorités. Aussi, avec les soins dentaires, on est maintenant en train d'inclure nos aînés. On va regarder si ça fonctionne et on va élargir le programme pour la 3e phase. Ça va inclure tous les gens qui gagnent moins de 90 000 $. Donc, on va regarder ça. Ça, c'est important. L'assurance médicaments, c'est aussi une autre mesure importante. Donc, l'abordabilité, en général, la question de comment on peut aider les gens pour réduire les coûts de vie. Et aussi les autres éléments de notre entente comme les soins dentaires et l'assurance médicaments vont rester nos priorités.
We're not seeing any more questions on Zoom, so this will conclude our presentation.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.